wanted to make sure I did on this one was get even more of a comprehensive combat example. So we're gonna have the 1st Infantry Division here. They have a fire base up in the mountains, and the VC have conquered the city of Juan-Loc. I believe that's how you say it, Juan-Loc. This was actually a huge final battle, I think, in 1975. This was a huge last battle of the war before the South Vietnamese army was completely routed, by the way. So what I've done is set up the 1st Infantry Division. Now, some of these units may not have been in country at the same time, but just use your imagination here, and we're going to set up an example where the cadre is in the game. I know I mentioned that in the last video. And we have a fire base here, so we can trace supply to it. And I left the 2nd Corps HQ over here. We won't really need this, so we're just going to use them and keep them right there on the map. So I want to have a concerted effort and show an entire capitalist player turn. And I make a concerted effort to push the VC out of this area. And this time we have a division and a regiment. So we've got a little bit more going on here. So I kind of just want to show, again, like more of the things that can happen in combat in this game, because it can get really crazy. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking to myself, like, I didn't even get to show everything. There's just a lot going on. So in the capitalist player turn, you flip all the communist units to their fresh sides, not the HQs. So we're just going to start from the capitalist player turn here, and I pre-assigned some air points and more artillery this time. So we're going to say that during the air phase, the U.S. committed air power enough to get their air power up to 10 points. And their artillery is currently at 8 points for support. No tank support, I'm not using it. The VC have 4 artillery support. So what I'm going to do here is an operation and offensive to drive out the VC. Okay, so you flip all the communist units to the fresh side. You place out of communication markers on communist units that do not have a line of communication. For this example, we're just going to assume that they have a line of communication. All right. Now we activate. Okay. When you activate, remember the last time, this is where you activate a fresh HQ. And if the HQ has a line of communication, it can then activate 4 fresh units that are within range of 10 movement points. Now, if you remember correctly, in my other video, I mentioned for the U.S. to have support, they have to have a cadre on the map. If this gets withdrawn, they can still trace that back to a fire base. So that's why I put Firebase Martha, we'll call it out here. They've established Firebase Martha here in 3867 in the mountains. Now, before we do this, something we didn't go over the last time. I may have messed up the class sizes in combat. I think there was a difference between Class A and Class B, because Class A is all divisions and all U.S. and capitalist minor forces, but Class B is all communist regiments. So, even though this is a regiment, it's considered Class A compared to this Class B. And I think in the previous video, I did not account for the difference there in the sizes. This is still, this is all divisions are Class A. And all communist regiments, cadres, and all U.S. battalions are considered Class B. Okay, so just a little bit of a thing there to keep note of. Watch out for the classification of these. That's in a little table on page 12. Okay. All right, so we're going to activate here. We're going to activate the 2nd Corps HQ, and he has to be within 10 movement points. So we're looking at, our road is 1/2, so we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I mean, yeah, if we go, let's see, 1/2, 1, 2, 3. So there, these are in range 3. And even if we go off here, that would be 4, 5. He's in range, and we're at 3 here still. 4, 5. He's in range, and then 1/2. So all these guys are within 10 of the HQ corp here. And you want to make sure that there's no VC on that line of communication. As you know from the previous video, you'd have to draw from the snafu cup. Or in this case, I've actually made a bag of snafu because there's so many. I didn't have an extra mug, so I've made a bag of snafu. So we'll be drawing from that bag if something happens. All right. So if you remember from the previous video, activate the HQ. The HQ is going to go spent to this side. And remember, the HQ needs to have a line of communications back to a supply point, which we're using way up here in Kamran. We're going to use that for our supply point. Now, I'd also like to point out that a fire base can also be the end point for a line of communication. So the HQ can also count this to this fire base as a line of communication here. And that rule, the rule book's a little bit spread out on line of communications, but that is all the way near the back, which is weird. It's on page 30, 14.4. And remember, that line's got to be free of enemy units. There's a 6-point trace like to a road and then that road up. But here, this is fine because this is 4. The road is, I'm not sure if you have to follow. I think in this game, road is just other terrain. I'm used to East Front where you have to enter the hex and then follow the road. But I'm going to say this is other terrain. So it would be 4 and then 5, 6. So there's a 6 movement point trace to a road which goes to him, or he can simply go up the coastal road here. There's no enemies that would cause you to draw from the snafu. So that's why I put that fire base right there. I could have put it here, I guess. Let's put it there just to make it easier. So that's how you know your line of communication is good. And then you go 10 movement points out and you can activate units within 10 movement points of the HQ. So we get 5 movement points. All right, now this time I want to make sure I take these guys out. Moving in, so this time we're in jungle. Before, I think we were in rough. Yeah, we were up in this area. So this time we're in the jungle. It's still 2 movement points for the capitalist player. We get 5 with each unit that we activate. So I'm going to go here and have 3 left. 3 left would give me a prepared attack. So I am going to declare a prepared attack on this VC division. And we're going to try this. And I don't think the size difference should come out kind of even. So I'm going to declare a prepared attack. And this is where you draw, you get your cup. And remember from last video where you divided those combat chits up. So I'm going to draw a chit. And we're looking for a prepared attack. So I am declaring combat. So I'm going to do it as soon as so I'm going to do it right away here. So let's see if we can get something good. These bags are still too big. I don't know what GMT is thinking lately with these weird bags. Like, the whole point of the baggies is to have them smaller so you can split up divisions. And I don't know why they give us these big. Like, I could put a sandwich in this thing. Okay, we're going to draw the prepared attack. That's deliberate. All right, prepared attack. All right, we got random event no, D6, advance 3, support delay is C. So almost the same thing that I got in the other video. We're going to put that on the unit there, okay? And he's done. And we're going to flip him to the spent side. All right, we're going to keep activating here. I'm going to get as many people in here for support that I can. He will go next to this unit. And that is just 2 movement points. He's got 3 left, but he doesn't really need to worry about that. Okay, so 2 and clear is 1, 3. He is going to go next to that unit. Okay, that's pretty much the attack I wanted to get this time. Because I did really poor in my last combat. So we're just going to try this and see how it works. We're going to try to back that division out. If we can get the VC division destroyed or retreat, we can easily hit this regiment. Not this video, but I just want to weaken these units and push them back. So we'll see what we can do. I don't have the plexiglass down today because of the glare. So okay, so I don't think there's anything else I want to do, right? Okay, yeah, I think I'm good. All right. Now, the non-phasing player gets to do reserve movement. I didn't really plan to show this, but if there was like a VC HQ, he can activate one and only one fresh HQ and up to 4 fresh units and move each of them 5 movement points. The number of units an HQ can activate may be increased or decreased by the theater commander. So now the VC player, if he had an HQ, could say, I'm activating this HQ and I'm bringing this regiment in for backup, or however you wanted to do it. We're not going to do that here. The VC, we're going to say they're unprepared and they weren't expecting this first infantry attack. So we're not going to do reserve movement. Okay. Now, let me think here. Let's see. That's good, that's good. Okay, exploitation movement. Now, after the non-phasing player has done reserve, but prior to the completion of hasty, prepared, or deliberate attacks, that's prepared, right? So prior to this, all active units that are not in enemy ZOC may perform exploitation movement. These units may move an additional 3, but may not enter an enemy ZOC. Okay. I'm good. I don't really have anyone. So if I had some other people back here, like, you know, I could move them, but you can't move them into an enemy ZOC. So I think I'm good there. I think I'm good. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. I almost forgot something. Yeah, I almost screwed up, didn't I? The ZOC rules. It's +1 to enter in addition to other terrain. Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that, didn't I? 2, so that was 3. That leaves me with 2. I wouldn't be able to do a prepared attack. So what I may have to do is rethink my move here. All these are going to be... I cannot do this. Crud. I still have to do a hasty attack. This terrain is brutal because he was here. He has 5. That's 2. That's 3. That leaves me with 2. He moves here. It's the same thing. I cannot do a prepared attack. I'm going to have to do another hasty attack. I caught myself live on the video. I forgot about ZOC. I always forget about that, you know? All right, so we're going to have to do a hasty attack. That's going to make me pull from a whole different bag. That's the same thing that happened to me on the last video. I underestimate how much it takes to move in this freaking jungle, you know? Let's make sure I did the ZOC rules right. All units have a zone of control. All right. Enemy ZOCs cost +1 to enter in addition to other terrain. In addition, you cannot retreat through them. Okay. Man, that's annoying. I almost messed up the video right from the start there, right? Okay. This isn't really meant to be a tutorial. I'm just kind of showing you folks how this plays. So if I trip up, you know. All right, we pull another marker. And this time it's going to be hasty. Ooh, that actually turned out better for me. I'll take that. This time I'm rolling a D10. My support is an A, which I think is sweet. It is not sweet. Okay, the lower the alphabet, the worse. Okay, that's terrible support. Very delayed support, but I get a D10 and can advance 3. Okay. That 4 is going to wipe out... When are they in jungle? It's 3 for 1. Oh, boy. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. All right, so let's try that. Glad I caught that mistake. Okay. All right, I'm not going to do any exploitation movement. Now we're going to go straight to the combat. Okay. Yeah, that was close. I almost really screwed that up. When combat is declared, you draw your chit, etc., and then we're going to do the die roll modifiers. And each activated unit can only place 1 combat chit per game turn. Once it's declared, it must occur. All right. Man, I almost really screwed that up. Okay. Now, if you look at the sequence of play, the combat is built into the capitalist activation phase. And that's pretty much where you do everything in this game is during the activation. I'm just going to flip to it real quick. Initial movement and combat declaration, we did that. Reserve movement, done. We didn't have any exploitation, none. Combat resolution. The phasing player resolves any hasty, prepared, or deliberate attacks 1 at a time. Okay. Man, I really didn't want to get stuck with that that hasty attack. That sucks. Okay. All right, so we're all set. We pulled our chit, and we're going to go to determine support. Now, one thing to know about, I can draw support from an HQ or fire base. Both attacker and defender use the terrain and the combat hex to determine modifiers. Okay. All right, so the 1st Infantry Division units, they have the green stripe. They need to, in order to draw support, they need to be within 4 hexes of their cadre, which I've conveniently put here. So this is regardless of terrain. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You only need to be within 1, so we can definitely draw all sorts of support. Now, I have no tank support. I had it down to 0. If you remember correctly, we are going to look at the support level and see how bad it is. So I pulled an A. A is the worst. So I have to subtract from my total amount that I can use this turn 4, 4, and 4. That's brutal. The terrain effect is jungle, and it's 3 for 1. So if you do the math here, I'm subtracting 4 from artillery. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm down to 4, and it's 3 for 1. I'm only going to get 1 for artillery. Ugh. Now air, I have 10. All right. And that's 3 for 1, so we're going to divide that. And you drop all the fractions. I get 3 for that. So plus 3 for air. Ugh. And that's all I gave them, really. I think that's all I've got. Now, there's adjacent support as well. So, oh man, that is brutal. It is really hard to dislodge people from the jungle in this game. Okay, the defender, he is facing a hasty attack, and that's -3, -3, -3. So he has 1 artillery support, and he uses the jungle. I think that's what he's in. Okay, so the VC player, the jungle is 3 for 1. He only has 1. He gets no support from his artillery. I should have jacked that up to... I should have given more points. Dang, I did it again. To allow artillery and tank support, the combat hex must trace a loc back to a friendly HQ or cadre or to a fire base. So I'm allowed to use artillery because I can trace a line of communication back to a cadre or even this fire base 1, 2, 3. So that's a rule you need to really look out for. It's underneath the support planning table in 5.3 on page 12. Just watch out for that. If a U.S. unit has no division base in play, or say the cadre got withdrawn, it can draw support from an HQ or fire base. So if he wasn't here, they could still trace back to fire base Martha Stewart. Okay. Wow, that's brutal. Still not going to have enough time for that. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's get adjacent support. So we're going to get 1 for this unit and 2 for this unit. So that's +2. All right. Well, I got better pluses than I did the last time. So right now I'm at 4. I'm at +5. The VC had 0. I kind of screwed them over, but oh well. Now the VC are in jungle. There is a addition to the defense roll of +3 for the VC. So they are going to get +3 for terrain. This is almost identical to what happened to me the last time, because the last time they were on rough and got +3. Ugh. All right, the size difference. We're looking at a VC division and a bunch of U.S. regiments that are spent. Okay, size difference. Class A, all divisions, and all U.S. and capitalist minor forces, brigades, and regiments. Well, we're all Class A. I did it again. So, still doesn't matter. We are all Class A. There is no size difference. Restricted combat support is the American player being forced to, not fight a full war, etc., etc. No. All right, we're going to roll a die. And this time I get to roll a 10. Now, the defender rolls a D10 if fresh or a D6 if spent. He is fresh. Okay. If he chooses to roll a D10, he will become spent. Bleh. I don't have a lot of modifiers, so I am at, if we take away that +3 for the terrain that the VC gets, I only have +3 to my roll. He could, technically, if he rolls a D10, he could beat me on this. This may be bad. Okay, you know what? He's gonna roll a D10 and become spent. The VC think they have a shot here. They are so dug in. They actually think they might survive this. All right, let's do this. Well, this is interesting. White is the American player. That's not good. And green is the VC. That's good. So some things happen here. This is why I wanted to redo this. If either players roll a 1, the owning player places a poor unit marker as appropriate. So, yeah, on any fighting unit. Okay. In the combat, lead or supporting. Fresh or spent. Okay, this is not going well for the Americans. This operation is failing miserably. All right, so now I need to find a poor unit. This is why I wanted to do this, because so much can happen in these that, you know, you just never... I felt like I didn't get a chance to show that in the last one. Now I just got to find that marker. I wasn't really expecting that. Oh, here it is. Okay. Well... Let's take the southern unit, okay, and now a 0. I can't believe this actually happened. It's funny. If either player rolls a 10 with a D10 or a 6, the owning player places an elite guard's unit marker. Okay. And that goes on. All right. It's unbelievable. All right. Not only did the VC get a promotion, but the Americans, due to their probably poor morale, this is not going to be good. And not only that, I rolled, this is such a massive failure. Let's add up what we got, what we finished with here. So the Americans rolled a 1, and they have +6. So they have a total of 6. The VC rolled a 10, and they get 13, so that's 13 total. Yeah, that's a spread difference of 7 in favor of the defender. So I lost really, really freaking bad. Okay, well, so much for this operation. Okay, so when you lose this badly, you can only have a maximum spread difference of 5. So what happens is the poor unit here, you figure out all your modifiers. We're over 5, so it's going to be a 5 spread. The poor unit adds 1 to the spread and makes it worse. And you can go to 6 on that. So the spread is currently 6. The elite guards will... that's going to bump it up to 7. It should be noted that those are cumulative. This is a very rare event. If both of these happen and the defender wins, you can go to 7. Okay, so we were at 7 originally. We knocked it down to 5. Then the U.S. This is bad in favor of the attacker, up to 6. This is good in favor of the defender, up to 7. We're back to a spread of 7. This is going to hurt. This is the worst ever. I don't know what the odds are of that happening, but it is not. It's weird. So that's why I record these things, right? Because it's very strange. Okay. Now, if you look at the bottom of page 13, I'll just read that again. Note that these two modifiers are cumulative. For example, if an elite unit defeats a poor unit, the spread will now be a maximum of 7. Okay. Let's take a look at combat modifiers here, which we already did. Okay. Man, that's nasty. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Support from friendly units adjacent to the combat hex that are chosen. Uh-oh, he might get that support right there. Oh boy. For the defender, each friendly supporting unit, fresh or spent, adjacent to the combat, adds 2. Okay, so we're still... This is even worse than I thought it was. Golly, all right. Yeah, I didn't even see that. For the defender, each friendly supporting unit, fresh or spent, adjacent to the combat hex. That's ridiculous. So the defender gets 2 for each unit. The attacker gets 1 for the first. Oh, I may have done something wrong here. For example, if 3 units were adjacent, a total of 3 support. Oh no, I did it right. If 3 units were adjacent, a total of 3 support. Oh no, I didn't. So it's 1 for the first and 2 for the second. Okay, I gypped myself on that. So it's 1 for the first, so there's 3. So I'm actually back down 1 there. So it's actually 6 spread. Okay, I almost counted that wrong. So yeah, but that 2 is going to knock that right out. I'm going to say it's 7. Even with that other guy, I mean, it cancels out. That is brutal. So the attacker can really rack up. He can get 1 for that, 2, and then 3. So I had to really read that carefully. Make sure you read that 5.3.3 very carefully. If a deliberate attack is performed by the attacker, those odds are doubled, and that's just a little text thing. I'm going to look on the board here. Yeah, see, these tables are really bad. They don't put that on there. They attack die roll modifiers, attacker, unit adjacency support, but they don't. They should summarize that on that chart. I'm gonna have to start that in the rulebook because I totally would have missed that. The rulebook's brutal. If 4 units are adjacent to a hasty attack, the attacker adds 10. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. If it was deliberate, it would be 20. Holy crap. But your maximum spread is going to be 5 either way, so god dang. All right. I don't know why they bother counting it, making it go that high. It's kind of bizarre. Let me just make sure this. For the difference between the 2 modifier rolls is combat spread. For the purpose of loss determination, this spread is generally limited to 5, regardless of the actual spread. Okay. Unit quality, leaders, and fortifications can reduce or increase the final spread to a different value. Okay, and that's what happened here. Thus, a unit with an elite marker attacks a unit with poor. It gets a spread of 12. The final spread would be 5. From there, add 2 more for each type of the unit for a spread of 7, and that's just what we did. That extra, that was 1 off. It's not even going to make a difference. This is just a brutal, absolutely brutal. So the VC have won the combat. Golly, man. The loser of the combat may absorb losses in a different way. Retreat a unit 1 hex or more up to 3. So we need to lose 7 points. Okay. They just got mauled, man. Whew. Man, oh man. And then if we retreat, we're going to lose. Golly, okay. He's going to become routed. All right, well, 1, 2. And we have 5 more to do. Now, when you retreat, oh man. Should a unit retreat true hexes, it becomes disrupted. Place a disrupted marker on it. Okay. So this whole example just kind of fell apart right in front of me. All right. Still got 5. Good Lord. All right. We still got to do 3. We have to satisfy 3. And we got 1 left to satisfy. Good Lord. I can do body count. So I'm going to give 1 U.S. casualty, and the casualty marker is going to go up for the United States to a maximum of 2. The communist player would spend body counts. The capitalist player spends casualties. Okay, and that will further sway the unpopular opinion of the war. So I'm going to take that last spread point as casualties. Actually, I want to put him. Yeah, we'll go back to this town. Okay. Ouch. Okay, yeah. Good Lord, that was bad. Each hex retreated must be further away from the combat hex. Okay. For each retreating unit that became disrupted, reduce the tank support level by 1 if it was used. Reduce artillery support by 1 if it was used. Okay, so 3. So we're going to lose, this is where you adjust your overall totals. We're going to lose 3 artillery total points, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Remember, you don't normally modify that unless you lose and have to retreat. Okay, so we paid for that. And we don't have any routeds. Man, oh man, okay. Okay, for fresh unit retreats, flip it to its side. In addition, if a unit is disrupted or routed, draw from the cup of snafu. Draw for each unit to which this applies. This is the absolute worst example of a combat I've ever done. I had everything all set up nice and neat, and I just got whacked. This war's over. Okay, in addition, if a unit is disrupted, draw from the cup of snafu. So you're going to get to see some stuff here. Let's see what happens. All right, let's do the first cup of snafu draw, or bag of snafu in this case. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put these in a cup. This bag's annoying me here. Yeah, so sorry, folks. I wanted to show you a U.S. victory, but no. Okay. All right, snafu pull. We have either fuel shortage or out of fuel. Okay, so this will affect combat, like tank support and stuff. So he's going to get his snafu result is fuel shortage, and that can be removed during the infrastructure phase. You have to spend, if you have a line of communication and the owning player spends 1 supply point during infrastructure, you can remove that. If he gets another fuel shortage, I think it's just 1. If a fuel shortage unit gains either another fuel or a fuel out, to replace it with a fuel out. Yeah. So he's out of fuel. Okay, and that what that does is if you declare combat with fuel shortage, you get half of your tank support. So yeah, okay. Next up we have, all right, radio out. Okay, that goes on this guy. Now we're going to pull for the one that declared the combat. So now what this means is the next time he fights, if he's next to someone, he cannot apply adjacent bonus, and then that's how you get rid of that. Okay, so his radio's out. Now if you read 6.2 F, the opposing player should be drawing the snafu, and then he has the option of placing the marker he drew on the disrupted unit if it applies to that unit, or discarding it. The way you get rid of disruptions is the HQ spends one of its activations. Remember, you get 4, so you can spend an activation to remove the disrupted. I'm not sure here that the radio out would take effect here because it says in the combat, the current combat. I think this would not take effect, so we're going to discard that. I don't think it's used right now. All right, now we're going to draw for the actual regiment that declared the combat. Yeah, so take a look at the bottom of page 17 if you have the rule book. I just read that and had to make sure that that case wasn't being broken. Yeah, a disrupted marker has been placed on the unit. The opposing player draws once from the cup of snafu and then has the option of placing the marker he drew on the disrupted unit if it applies, or discarding. Okay. This does not act. Okay, disrupted units cannot retreat in combat, cannot use artillery. Okay. Yeah, being disrupted is not good. So basically that HQ is going to have to spend 3 of his activation points to rally them. All right, the last unit, we get ammo shortage. Wonderful. That's great. Okay, ammo shortage, what does that do? Let's see. If there is an ammo shortage marker on the unit that declared the combat, or on the defending unit in the combat hex, the total amount of artillery support for a combat is halved. This is applied to the final artillery. In addition, the unit with the ammo shortage marker only gains half the total adjacent support round down. An ammo out on the unit that declared the combat or on the defending unit. Okay, the ammo shortage marker is removed if the unit with the marker has a line of communication and the owning player spends a supply. So you'll get ammo out if another one gets jumped on there. Okay. All right, there's the penalties for all the retreats. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? That was fun, okay. All right, now I think if I'm not mistaken here, if the attacker won the combat and defender is vacated, the attacker may move any units that participated in the combat into the hex. All right, so there's the defending player may never move after combat even if he won. All right, and that is it. So I wanted to show you guys a total blowout, and it ended up not being good. It actually blew up in my face. So what you got to see was a rout of the American Armed Forces in South Vietnam, just outside of Saigon, and they are going to have to go back and lick their wounds, and this VC unit got promoted. So interesting stuff there. Okay, that's enough of combat for Rumor of War. You guys can take it from there, but I just had to show you all the crazy stuff that can happen in this game. Yeah, I kind of like it. I want to say it's kind of growing on me, right? I was playing Silver Bayonet, and Silver Bayonet feels like next war with Vietnam counters. So I was like, I want the bigger picture. So I'm kind of digging this right now. This is kind of crazy stuff. Okay, let me know in the comments what you think, and if you stayed through this whole video and witnessed this absolute debacle of incompetent American leadership, then let me know what you think. All right, see ya.